They abandoned me at St. Bridget House at age 6. 14 years of silence followed. Now, after I won $112 million, they are on the news with lawyers and cameras, claiming I promised them half. I keep my winning ticket in a rusted tin box. They keep a story built on lies. Let's see what the truth costs. My name is Stella Stewart. I am 29 and work at Northline Metrics. I am employee 7741, a senior data analyst who translates chaotic human behavior into predictable, sterile code. I am efficient. I am quiet. I live alone in a Denver apartment that is 50 shades of gray. Not because I lack imagination, but because I require order. My life is a fortress of logic, built one brick at a time to wall off the memory of St. Bridget House. I am good at my job because I see the patterns in the noise. It's a skill you learn when your survival depends on predicting the unpredictable moods of strangers. My Saturday routine, however, is not logic. It is ritual. Every Saturday morning, I drive my sensible sedan not to the pristine organic supermarket near my apartment, but to the aging King Soopers on Quebec Street, the one with the flickering sign and the squeaky shopping cart wheels. It's down the street from St. Bridget. My cart never has kale or almond milk. It fills with the currency of childhood, boxes of goldfish crackers, industrial-sized containers of animal cookies, apple juice boxes, and always 3 gallons of 2% milk. This Saturday, the air felt different, heavier. Mrs. Petro, the current house manager at St. Bridget, was standing near the entrance, her face pulled tight with a familiar kind of weariness. She wasn't shopping. She looked like she was just trying to breathe. "Stella," she said, her voice cracking slightly when she saw me pushing my cart. "You don't have to keep doing this. You aged out. You're free." "It's not about being free, Mrs. P. It's just what I do," I said, motioning to her face. "What's wrong?" she sighed, a sound that seemed to come from the building's foundation. "The Hadley grant, the one we rely on for the transition program. College applications, trade school deposits are gone," she said, snapping her fingers. "Budget reallocation at the state level. They cut it. Just cut it. As if these kids, our kids, are just a rounding error." The phrase landed like a punch. I thought of Anya, a girl at the house now, sharp as an tack, who wanted to be a nursing assistant. She was counting on that grant. "I don't know how I'm going to tell her, Mrs. Petro." Petrov whispered. "I paid for my items." The anger was cold. Familiar. It didn't burn hot, it froze. I pushed the cart toward the exit, the automatic door sliding open. And I saw it, the garish, flashing power pick sign by the customer service desk. $112 million. I hate gambling. It's an attack on false hope. It's illogical. But Mrs. Petrov's words echoed in my head, a rounding error. I felt a sudden, sharp impulse. It wasn't hope. It was defiance. A $2 spike of statistical rebellion. I walked back, leaving my cart by the door. "I'm asking the universe for a sign," I muttered to myself, feeling ridiculous. I grabbed one of the paper slips and the tiny tethered pencil. I couldn't do a quick pick. If this was a message, the numbers had to mean something. Not my birthday. That day belonged to them, not the day they left me. That day is a void. My fingers moved, filling in the bubbles. October 4th, the day St. Bridget House opened its doors in 1952, a sanctuary. August 19th, the day I was officially signed in, the day a younger Mrs. Petrov looked me in the eye and said, "You are safe here, Stella." And the power pick number, 22. The number of beds in the house. These weren't numbers of chance, they were numbers of resilience. They were the numbers of who stayed. I paid the $2. The cashier handed me the flimsy slip of paper. I shoved it into the pocket of my jeans, delivered the groceries to St. Bridget without mentioning the ticket, and drove home, the gesture already forgotten. The draw was Sunday night. I was at my kitchen counter, laptop open, running a final data model for Northline. The blue light of the monitor painted my face. 10:43 p.m. My phone, set to Do Not Disturb, buzzed anyway with a high-priority news alert I must have set years ago. Power pick winning numbers announced, 04-1955. Power pick 22. I stared. 1922. It wasn't a full match. 55. My ticket didn't have 55. I exhaled, a strange mix of disappointment and relief. Of course not. I went back to my code, but something itched. I looked again. Wait. I misread the screen. The fifth number was 41, not 55. I checked the app again. No, I was wrong. The numbers were 10-4-08-1941. Power pick 22. My ticket was 10-04-08-1941. Power pick 22. I must have marked 41, not my intake day. I didn't even remember. My breath caught. My heart didn't pound. It stopped. Then it restarted, a painful, heavy slam against my ribs. Thump, thump, thump. This wasn't real. It was a glitch. A typo in the app. I grabbed the ticket from my jeans, now crumpled in a pile by the door. My hands were shaking so violently I had to smooth the paper flat on the counter. 10-04-08-1941. Power pick 22. I fumbled for my laptop, my fingers slipping on the keys. I went to the official Colorado Lottery website and checked the numbers. They matched. I downloaded the official lottery app, my thumb barely hitting the right icon. I used the scan ticket function. A blast of digital confetti filled the screen. An obscenely cheerful sound in the dead silence of my apartment. Congratulations, you have won the $112 million jackpot. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I backed away from the counter and sat down hard on the cold kitchen tile. The world tilted. $112 million before taxes. The number was abstract, terrifying. It wasn't joy, it was a crushing weight. This was a new kind of noise, and I didn't know the pattern. The ticket felt radioactive. I couldn't leave it on the counter. I stood on shaky legs, went to my bedroom closet, and reached for the top shelf. Behind my organized tax returns from the last 7 years, I pulled down a rusted, rectangular tin box. It had once held Danish butter cookies. I opened the lid. It didn't hold money, it held my entire net worth. A dried corsage from my high school graduation, which Ruth, my primary foster mother at St. Bridget, had pinned on me, a photo of her, wrinkled and beaming at my community college graduation, a small stack of thank you cards I'd written her over the years for things like new sneakers and driving me to the science fair. This box was the testament, the evidence of the love that stayed. I gently placed the $112 million ticket on top of a faded note that read, "Dear Ruth, thank you for the algebra help." I closed the lid. It felt, for a single second, safe. Then the panic returned, replaced by the cold precision of my job. This was a data breach, a life breach. It needed to be contained. I didn't call Mrs. Petro. I didn't call my one friend from work. I thought back 6 months ago, a VP at Northline, Mark Ellison, had mentioned his brother's messy inheritance battle. "This guy, Arden Pike, saved our family," Mark had said. "He's a financial lawyer, a total ghost, makes money invisible." I found the contact, Pike Associates. It was 11:21 p.m. on a Sunday. I didn't care. I called. It went to a crisp, professional voicemail. "My name is Stella Stewart," I said, my voice steady, betraying nothing. "I have an urgent financial matter regarding a sudden windfall. I was referred by Mark Ellison at Northline." My phone rang exactly 90 seconds later, a blocked number. "Miss Stewart, this is Arden Pike. When you say sudden windfall, what precisely are we discussing?" His voice was monotone, unhurried. "I just won the power pick, the 112 million one." Silence, not shock, just processing. "Right," Pike said. "First, have you told anyone? A spouse, a friend, a dog?" "No. No one." "Good. Second, have you signed the back of the ticket?" "No." "Excellent. Do not." Third, your primary problem, Colorado Revised Statute 44013. We are not an anonymous state. Your name, your city, and the amount you won will be public record the moment you claim. We have approximately 72 hours, maybe less, before the press connects the winning retailer to you. Your life as you know it is over. What do I do? I whispered, clutching the phone. You do nothing. You go to work tomorrow and you sit at your desk. You will meet me at 7 a.m. at the address I am about to text you. Do not drive your car. Take a lift. From this moment, you are silent. You change your phone number today. You rent a P.O. box tomorrow, and we, Miss Stewart, are going to form a trust before you ever walk into that lottery office. The next 2 days were a blur of sterile conference rooms. Arden Pike was exactly as his voice suggested, thin, meticulous, and utterly devoid of emotion. He was perfect. He explained the mechanism, a spendthrift trust. He would be the trustee. I would be the beneficiary. It wouldn't hide my name, but it would build a legal wall around the assets. The trust needs a name, he said, pen hovering. I thought of the cold, of surviving the freeze. The Hibiscus Trust, I said. He raised an eyebrow. It's a flower, I explained. It's tough. It can bloom in winter. He just nodded and typed. The Hibiscus Trust it is. I signed the papers. We went to the lottery office. The cameras were there, just as Pike had warned. The giant, obscene check. The forced, painful smile. Stella Stewart, 29, data analyst. The foster kid makes good story was irresistible. The questions were invasive, but I just repeated Pike's script. I'm grateful. I'm taking time to process with my legal team. By the time I got back to my apartment building, the circus had arrived. 3 news vans from local affiliates were parked on the curb. A reporter was buzzing my unit number relentlessly. My neighbors peered out their windows. I slipped in the back in trance, my heart hammering. My old phone, the one I was supposed to have destroyed, was on the counter. I hadn't been able to bring myself to turn it off yet. It was vibrating, buzzing itself across the granite, a frantic, dying insect. The leak wasn't a leak, it was a flood. I ignored the phone. I ignored the knocking on my door. I put on a baseball cap, pulled up my hood, and walked out the fire escape. I took a bus across town, back to the neighborhood that smelled like dust and disinfectant. I went to St. Bridget House. Mrs. Petrov met me at the door, her eyes wide with a joy so pure it almost hurt to look at. Stella, we saw the news. Is it true? It's true, I said. She hugged me hard. Be careful. Please be careful. That's why I'm here. I sat with her in the tiny, cluttered office. The Hadley grant, I said. That problem is solved. Stella, that's wonderful. But that's a few thousand. You don't have to. No, Mrs. P. Not just that grant. I took a deep breath. I've set up a fund. It's called the Hibiscus Trust. It's going to provide scholarships for trade schools, for community college, for transition housing, for every kid who ages out of the system in this state, starting with this house. I don't want anyone to be a rounding error ever again. I didn't tell her the amount. Pike's voice in my head never discussed the principle, only the results. She wept. She just held my hand and wept. You were always a good girl, Stella. You always came back. I left St. Bridget feeling not happy, not joyful, but anchored. The chaos now had a purpose. I knew why the universe had handed me this statistical anomaly. I got back to my apartment after dark. The reporters were still there, huddled in their vans. I locked my deadbolt. The silence felt heavy. My old phone was still buzzing. It was time. I had to scrub it, change the number, follow Pike's rules. I picked it up. 412 unread messages. I scrolled. Congratulations. Shock, envy, desperate pictures from strangers. I was about to factory reset it when one more message came through. A new number. An area code I didn't recognize. The blood in my veins turned to ice. 14 years. 14 years of absolute, unbroken, deafening silence. Not a card for my 18th birthday. Not a call when I graduated. Not a single word. The text message read, "Is this you?" It's Mom. I stared at the screen at those 4 words, "It's Mom." The word Mom was a foreign object, a piece of shrapnel I'd spent 2 decades meticulously digging out. And here it was, trying to force its way back in. My first instinct was to throw the phone, to smash it against the grey, orderly wall of my apartment. But I'm a data analyst. I don't smash. I contain. I block the number. I followed Arden Pike's instructions to the letter. Driving to a sterile Verizon store in a different county, I got a new number, a new SIM card. I factory reset the old device, watching the progress bar erase 412 messages of congratulations, envy, and one single, devastating lie. I told myself it was just another grifter, a lucky guess. But I knew the timing was too surgical. The silence of 14 years hadn't just broken, it had shattered. Pike had moved me. The reporters were still camped outside my old building, but I was gone. My new location was a corporate short-term lease apartment in the tech center, a place with beige walls, 0 personality, and a high-security fob. It was a fortress of anonymity. I sat on a sofa that still had a plastic tag on it, my laptop open, trying to find normalcy in a data model for Northline. And that's when they truly arrived. My new phone buzzed. It was a link from Pike. No text, just the link. It was to the 9 News evening broadcast, which had aired an hour earlier. I clicked. The segment opened not on me, but on a man and a woman sitting on a floral sofa, bathed in the soft, sympathetic light of a new studio. They were flanked by a man in a suit so sharp it looked like it could cut glass. A family torn apart by poverty, now hoping to be reunited by a miracle, the anchorwoman said, her voice dripping with manufactured empathy. My blood ran cold. I knew those faces. Age had been unkind, thickening their features, pulling at their skin, but they were unmistakable. Connie and Blake Morton. Connie, my biological mother, was dabbing at her eyes with a crumpled tissue. We just want our little girl back, she wept. We never stopped looking. Never. Blake, my biological father, sat beside her, his hand on her back, looking uncomfortable in a borrowed-looking sports coat. He nodded grimly. It was hard times. We made mistakes, but we always loved her. The man in the suit leaned forward, his presence filling the screen. The Chiron identified him, Rex Dalton, Esquire, attorney for the Morton family. Let's be clear, Dalton said, his voice smooth and commanding. This isn't about the money. This is about healing. This is about a family broken by economic hardship. Finally getting a second chance. But Rex, the anchorwoman pressed, your clients are making a claim, a legal claim. Indeed, Dalton said, not missing a beat. You see, Stella and her parents, despite the hardship, maintained a loving, if distant, relationship. We have proof of that. He smiled, a thin, reptilian gesture. We have proof that they sent money to St. Bridget House for Stella's care for years. A lie. A monstrous, easily disproven lie. St. Bridget ran on state funds and private charity, not the guilt money of the parents who abandoned their children there. Furthermore, Dalton continued, there was a long-standing family promise, a little game they played. Stella always told her mother, Mom, if I ever hit it big, if I win the lottery, half is yours. It was a verbal contract, a sacred promise. I felt the air leave my lungs. I was going to be sick. The anchorwoman turned to Connie. Connie, what would you say to Stella if she's watching right now? Connie looked directly into the camera, her eyes suddenly clear, the performative tears gone, replaced by a hard, desperate gleam. We are so proud, honey. We just want to celebrate with you like we promised. We love you. I almost missed it. My analyst's brain. The part of me trained to spot the anomaly in the dataset caught it, her wrist. As Connie reached out to the camera, a piece of jewelry slid down her arm. It was a silver cuff, a cheap imitation Navajo cuff with 3 chips of imitation turquoise. I remembered that bracelet. I remembered it with the horrifying clarity of a trauma snapshot. I was 6. I was in the parking lot of St. Bridget. It was cold. She was pulling my small suitcase from the trunk of a dented blue sedan. She was crying then, too. Real tears. I have to sell this, she had sniffled, pulling that exact bracelet from her wrist. It's the last good thing I have. I have to sell it for gas money, honey, to get to the new job. I'll be back. I'll be back for you on Friday. I promise. She never sold it. She never sold it. The last good thing she had. The entire story of her desperation, the performance she gave a 6-year-old in a parking lot, was a lie. She hadn't sold the bracelet for gas money. She had kept the bracelet, and she had left the child. I closed the laptop. The beige room felt like it was closing in. An hour later, an email landed in my new secure inbox. It was from Arden Pike. Subject: FOD Urgent Pre-Litigation Demand re Morton Stewart Lottery Proceeds. Pike's note was brief. Stella, this is no longer a financial matter. This is war. They are not asking. They are threatening. I opened the attachment. It was a PDF on Rex Dalton's letterhead. It was an ultimatum. It stated that I, Stella Stewart, was in breach of a long-standing verbal contract. It claimed I was in possession of a co-owned asset. It demanded an immediate 50/50 split of the post-tax winnings, $56 million, to be placed in an escrow account controlled by Dalton's firm within 48 hours. If I failed to comply, they would file for an emergency temporary restraining order to freeze all assets associated with the lottery winnings, including any and all funds I had moved to the Hibiscus Trust. The legal basis was a fantasy, breach of verbal contract, unjust enrichment, and the most audacious dispute of joint ownership over the family's lucky numbers. They are trying to paralyze the Hibiscus grant, I whispered. They were aiming directly at St. Bridget. I called Pike. He can't do this, can he? He can't freeze the money based on a lie. He can try, Pike said, his voice clipped. A TRO is a low bar. Stella, all he has to do is convince one judge there's a question of ownership. He'll lose eventually, but he can tie you up in court for years. He can bleed you dry in legal fees all while the press paints you as the ungrateful foster kid who stole her family's dream. This is his entire strategy. He doesn't want to win in court. He wants you to settle. He's betting you'll pay $10 million just to make him go away. I will not, I said, the words coming out colder than I expected. I will not pay them $1 for my own abandonment. Good, Pike said. Because I am a tax attorney. I build walls. You, Miss Stewart, now need a battering ram. You need a litigator. Who? Her name is Nora Whitfield. We met on a secure video call 20 minutes later. Nora Whitfield was not like Pike, where he was grey and sterile. She was sharp and vivid. She was based in Atlanta, but was licensed in Colorado. She wore a crisp white blouse, and her dark hair was pulled back so tightly it looked severe. And when she spoke, her voice was a weapon. It was a slow, melodic Georgia drawl that sounded like sweet tea and razor blades. I explained everything, the parking lot, the 14 years of silence, the bracelet, the ultimatum. She listened, her face perfectly still, just her eyes moving, processing. When I finished, she was silent for a long moment. Well, hell, she said finally, the drawl stretching the word out. They are not just grifters, they are ambitious. Can they win? Nora laughed. A short, sharp sound in a court of law. Miss Stewart, this isn't a lawsuit. Nora laughed. Lord, no. This isn't a lawsuit. Miss Stewart, this is a public relations campaign with a filing fee. They are banking on you being embarrassed. They are banking on you being that same 6-year-old girl in the parking lot, too scared to fight back. Are you? No, I said. Good, because we are not going to be embarrassed. We are going to be thorough. Their entire case is built on a narrative, poverty. We sent money. Family promise. We are not going to just poke holes in that narrative. We are going to dismantle it brick by brick, and then we are going to salt the earth where it stood. What do I do? You, Ms. Stewart, do not exist. You will not speak to them. You will not see them. If they light themselves on fire in front of your building, you will call the fire department and send me the bill. Everything goes through me. Is that understood? Yes, I said. No direct contact. Excellent. Now, I need 2 things. First, a signed release for your records from the Colorado Department of Human Services. Second, I need you to tell me exactly what they are going to lie about next. The records were easy. Nora's paralegal had the release to me in 5 minutes. I signed it digitally. Less than an hour later, a new file appeared in my secure portal, Stewart_SDHS_final_sealed.pdf. I opened it. It was 23 years of my life in 12-point state-sanctioned Times New Roman. I scrolled past the intake forms, the placement notes, the psychological check-ins until I found the originating document. Case File 94B. Subject, Stewart, Stella, age 6. Intake note. Subject found in the parking lot of St. Bridget House. Subject stated her mother, Connie Morton, had gone to buy milk and would be back. Subject left with 1 small suitcase. After 4 hours, intake officer attempted to contact provided numbers. First number, Connie Morton, disconnected. Second number, Blake Morton, disconnected. Status changed from temporary placement to abandonment. After 90 days, no further contact from biological parents. This was the truth. Cold, brutal, official. The lies came fast. That night, the social media war began. Connie Morton started a public Facebook page, Connie Morton Stewart, A Mother's Journey. Her first post was a grainy, pixelated photo. It was me at about 8 years old, holding a half-eaten cotton candy. The caption read, "My sweet Stella's 8th birthday party. I saved up for months to give her this day." She was so happy. We were always a family, no matter what. Family first. Give Mom half. I remembered that day. It wasn't my birthday. It was the St. Bridget Summer Carnival, a charity event open to the public. Connie had shown up unannounced, smelling of cigarettes and something sweet like peach schnapps. She hadn't stayed for the party. She'd stayed for 5 minutes. She tried to get me to tell her where Mrs. Petrov kept the donation box. When I refused, she called me a little brat, grabbed a free cotton candy from a volunteer, and left. A volunteer had taken that photo, not her. Before I could even send the screenshot to Nora, Blake posted his. His was worse. It was more sophisticated. It was a screenshot from a smartphone. It showed an app interface I'd never seen, Lotto Pool. The header read, Lotto Pool. Below it showed 2 profiles, Blake M. and Stellas. A shared pool and a single line, 1 ticket purchased for $10.04 draw. His caption, "See? We were in this together, kiddo. Always were. The app proves it. Time to do the right thing. Family first. Lotto Pool shared ticket." I'd never downloaded an app called Lotto Pool in my life. I bought my ticket with $2 in cash, spurred on by Mrs. Petrov's grant. The media, of course, devoured it. The narrative shifted instantly. The next morning, the headlines weren't just local. Family reunited by $112 million ticket. Grateful foster kid or greedy daughter. Parents show proof of shared lottery pool. The online comments were a firestorm. Blood is thicker than water. She forgot where she came from. Of course, it's their money, too. They raised her. I was shaking, not with fear, but with a pure, cold rage. "They are creating evidence, Nora," I said, my voice tight on the phone. "They are just making it up." I heard the distinct sound of clicking keys, then a pause. "Yes, they are," Nora said, her voice dangerously calm. "And they are 2 of the stupidest criminals I have ever had the pleasure of suing." "What do you mean?" "They just gave us a gift, Stella. They created digital evidence. They thought they were just posting on Facebook. They have no idea what they've just done. They've committed their lies to a physical, datable digital format," Nora said. "And now we get to keep it. I am, as we speak, drafting a litigation hold letter. It's being sent by courier to Mr. Dalton's shiny office right now." "What is it?" "It's a legal warning," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "It officially puts Connie, Blake, and their shark of a lawyer on notice. They are now legally required to preserve everything, every phone, every computer, every email, every text message, all the metadata, every deleted file, especially everything related to the creation of that Lotto Pool screenshot and that 8th birthday photo. If they delete one single byte of data now, it's called spoliation of evidence, and judges, Ms. Stewart, judges really hate that." She took a breath. They thought they were setting a media trap. They just walked straight into a legal one. Let them keep talking, Stella. I want them to talk all damn day. My job is to find the signal in the noise. For the past week, the noise had been deafening, the camera flashes, the online vitriol, the phantom text from Mom. But now, sitting in the sterile beige of the corporate apartment, the noise began to recede. It was time for the signal. Nora Whitfield's litigation hold had been a shot across the bow. Now came the autopsy. Their whole case is a story, Nora said over our encrypted video call. So we need a better one. Theirs is fiction. Yours must be a textbook. The first textbook arrived in a simple banker's box, delivered by Mrs. Petro, who slid it into my apartment lobby with a brief, validating squeeze of my arm. Ruth kept everything, Stella. Everything. I took the box upstairs. It didn't hold $112 million. It held something infinitely more valuable, the truth. I spread the contents across the generic glass coffee table. This was my paper trail. It wasn't a digital fabrication. It was paper, faded and real. Here was the official St. Bridget intake log from the night I arrived. I'd seen the DHS report, but this was different. This was handwritten by the night manager, a woman I'd only vaguely remembered as Mrs. Gable. Her entry in looping, tired cursive. 8:14 p.m. Connie Morton, bio mother, left child Stella, 6, at front curb with one small vinyl bag. Stated she was going for milk and would return by evening. Did not return. 11:30 p.m. called both contact numbers. Disconnected. This single entry eviscerated Dalton's narrative of economic hardship and years of support. This was the clinical language of abandonment. I dug deeper. There were photos, not the blurry, AI-retouched cotton candy photo Connie had posted, but a stack of Polaroids. There I was at 8 years old in the St. Bridget kitchen, a single candle shoved into a hostess cupcake. Mrs. Petrov and 3 other kids were singing. That was my 8th birthday. That was the party Connie had saved up for. I found activity logs, thank you notes I'd written for donations, school honor roll certificates. I saw a timeline built by people who showed up. The signal, physical evidence, is solid, Nora said when I scanned and uploaded the logbook. It gives us the moral high ground, but a judge, especially in a TRO hearing, wants to see the lie dismantled. They built their case on digital proof. We need to execute it digitally. I'm a data analyst, Nora. What do you need? I need someone who can do what you do, but in a court of law, she replied. I've retained a specialist, Stella. Meet River Salgado. A new face popped up on our video call. River Salgado was my opposite in every visual way. Where I was corporate grey. River was a sharp neon slash, close-shaved hair, multiple piercings, and eyes that moved with the rapid, clicking focus of a search algorithm. River used they/them pronouns and, according to Nora, was the best digital forensics expert in the Southeast. Okay, River said, bypassing pleasantries. Nora sent me the file, 2 primary exhibits, the lotto screenshot from Blake and the 8th birthday photo from Connie. Nora says you think they are fake. They are not just fake, River stated. They are stupid. Let's start with the Lotto Pool app. Blake posted a screenshot of a shared pool with you. First, let's look at your end. Nora had you pull your carrier logs, right? Yes, I said. I ran a full audit of my data usage and all incoming SMS, MMS links for the 72 hours prior to the draw. There are no links from Lotto. No pings to their servers. No data packets associated with that app ID. I never installed it. Never received an invite. Bingo, River said. That's defense. Now, here's offense. They pulled up the image. It looked convincing. Now, River said, this is an official downloaded version of the Lotto Pool app, version 4.1, which was the public build on the day of the lottery draw. See the difference? I leaned in. I saw it instantly. My analyst brain snapped it into focus. The font, I breathed. The font, River confirmed. Blake's screenshot uses Helvetica in the header, but Lotto pushed update 4.05 3 days before the draw, which switched their entire UI to San Francisco Pro. It was a big, ugly corporate rebrand. Everyone in the tech blogs complained. River zoomed in, highlighting the slight difference in the curl of the and the spacing of the L. It's subtle, but it's legally ironclad. The screenshot Blake posted could not have been generated by the official app on that day. He, or someone else, used a design program to composite this image. He faked a digital antique. My heart was pounding. This was my language. This was truth. Now the birthday photo, River continued, switching files. This one is even better. They pulled up Connie's Facebook post. Me with the cotton candy. First, the metadata. EXIF data is totally stripped. Classic sign of a downloaded image that's been manipulated, but the uploader can't strip the platform's metadata, River said, showing me a screen of code. Connie posted this on Monday at 9:02 p.m., but the file's internal creation markers show it was modified by an AI retouching app called FaceGlow at 7:31 p.m. She was enhancing the photo an hour and a half before she posted her spontaneous memory. Why? I asked. Because the original, which we are pulling from the St. Bridget Carnival archives, was blurry. She ran it through an unblur filter. But look at the artifacts. River zoomed in on my 8-year-old face. There was a slight, oily halo around my hair, a digital ghosting where the algorithm tried to invent pixels that weren't there. She didn't just post a lie, I said, feeling a cold satisfaction. She manufactured it. She manufactured it last week, River corrected. This isn't a memory, Stella. It's a deliverable. While Nora and River were dissecting the digital past, my present was becoming more unstable. The move to the secure apartment hadn't been as clean as we'd hoped. My new, unlisted, clean phone rang, blocked ID. I picked up. Nora had advised me to enable recording. Colorado is a one-party consent state. Hello. Silence, then a low, gravelly voice. Not Blake. You think you're smart, the voice slurred. Hiding behind lawyers. That's family money. You don't share. You're going to find out how cold Denver is in the winter. Click. I sent the audio file. Timestamped to Nora. Good, she replied via text. Keep logging. They are escalating. They are feeling the pressure. What pressure? I asked on our next call. They are the ones suing me. Oh, honey, Nora said. They are not the ones applying the pressure. I had my PI run financials on our Mr. Blake Morton. She sent me a file. It was a credit report. My analysts I scanned the numbers, judgments, liens, a string of defaults. Blake Morton, Nora narrated, is $95,000 in debt to a man who runs a collection service for industrial loan sharks in Aurora. The due date with Vigor was last week. Blake is not just opportunistic, Stella. He is cornered. He didn't just see a lottery win. He saw a life raft. And he is willing to drown you to get to it. That explained Blake's desperation. It explained the fabricated screenshot, but it didn't explain the first move, the mom text. How, Nora? I asked, pacing the beige carpet. How did she find me? That first text came before the media vans, before my name was officially public. How did she know it was me? There was a long pause. We found him, Nora said quietly. Connie Morton has a third cousin, a man named Travis Reed. Works as a seasonal temp. Guess where? My stomach dropped. The Lottery Commission, Mountain Region Processing Office, Nora confirmed. We subpoenaed the internal communications for that 24-hour period. And we got it. She sent me the file. It wasn't a complex piece of code. It was a simple email chain between Connie's personal email and Travis Reed's official lottery commission address from ConnieCraftSale.com. Subject, family. Hey, Trav, long time no see. Crazy question. I saw on the news a lady from Denver won that huge power pick. Can you do me a huge favor and check the internal winners report? See if it's our Stella. It would change everything for us, Connie. The reply, 2 hours later, was succinct, from T.Reed at companylottery.subject, family. It's her. Stella Stewart. Attach the claimant city info. Don't tell anyone you got this from me. I closed my eyes. They hadn't just seen an opportunity. They had conspired to hunt me down using an inside source, violating lottery security and my privacy. The mom text wasn't a random guess. It was the opening shot of a planned attack. They didn't just lie about the past. Nora, I said, my voice dangerously level. They committed a crime in the present. Yes, They did, Nora said. I could hear the satisfaction in her drawl. Mr. Dalton has been sending me threats about his TRO hearing all week. He is demanding we freeze your assets based on a verbal promise. Well, I just filed our response. What did it say? It's a motion to compel, Nora said. I am demanding the judge force Dalton to produce preliminary evidence of his agreement before the court even dreams of granting a TRO. I have attached the St. Bridget logbook detailing the abandonment. I have attached River Salgado's sworn affidavit regarding the font mismatch on the lotto pool screenshot. And I have requested sanctions against Mr. Dalton for filing a frivolous lawsuit based on knowingly fabricated evidence. She paused. Mr. Dalton wanted a media circus. We are about to give him a court-ordered dissection. Let's see how he, or his clients, perform under oath. Nora's motion to compel had been a legal hand grenade. And the explosion was immediate, but it wasn't legal. It was public. Rex Dalton's strategy was clear. If you can't win on the facts, you try the case in the media. And the media was a courtroom where he was the judge. The 9 News interview was just the beginning. A few days later, they were national. Connie and Blake Morton appeared on a syndicated morning talk show. This time, their performance was polished. Dalton had clearly coached them. The floral sofa was replaced by a set designed to look like a cozy living room. Connie wasn't just dabbing her eyes, she was weeping, a full-bodied, shoulder-shaking performance of maternal grief. She was our little girl, Connie sobbed into the host's sympathetic hand. We were poor. We weren't perfect. But we never, ever stopped loving her. This money, it's not money. It's a second chance. It's a chance for a mother to finally hold her baby again. Blake sat beside her, the picture of the stoic, wounded father. We just want our family back. She promised us. The host turned to the camera, her face a mask of profound sincerity. A broken family, a foster child, and a $112 million promise. Is it about greed, or is it about grace? The segment was a masterpiece of emotional manipulation. By the time it was over, my new secure phone was exploding. The hashtag #GiveMomHalf was trending #1 on Twitter. It was no longer just a legal case. I was a national villain. I had been in the corporate safe house for 5 days. The beige walls were a prison. I couldn't work. I couldn't see anyone. I was a data analyst with no data to analyze. I felt the paranoia creeping in, a cold fog. I had to get out. I just wanted to buy my own milk. I made a mistake. I drove my rental car, part of my new protocol, to a supermarket in a suburb 20 miles away, a place I had never been. I wore a baseball cap, sunglasses, and kept my head down. It didn't matter. Someone recognized me in the checkout line. A low murmur started. That's her. That's the foster kid. I paid in cash and walked quickly to the parking lot, my heart hammering against my ribs. The car was parked in the far corner. I was fumbling for the keys when a man stepped out from between two trucks. He was in his 50s with a red, angry face. You should be ashamed of yourself, he spat, blocking my path. I tried to step around him. Excuse me. No, he said, getting closer, jabbing a finger at my face. I saw your mother on TV, crying her eyes out. You think you're better than them? Living in a foster home don't make you special. That's their money. That's your parents' money. I froze. The world went silent. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. I was 6 years old again in a parking lot, frozen. Leave me alone, I managed to say. Or what? He sneered. You going to call your fancy lawyer? He took another step. Get away from her. A security guard was walking briskly toward us, his hand on his radio. The man gave me one last look of pure disgust and stalked away. I got in the car, my hands shaking so badly I couldn't get the key in the ignition. I drove back to the safe house, the bag of groceries spilling in the passenger seat. I called Nora. I was crying, not from fear, but from a hot, suffocating rage. It's over, Nora said, her voice devoid of its usual drawl. It was flat, surgical. You're not a person, Stella. You're a bank vault, and they are trying to crack you. Pack a bag. Now? She didn't move me to another corporate apartment. She moved me to a place that didn't exist. It was a small furnished condo in a high-rise with a private residential garage, leased under an LLC controlled by her law firm. The security was biometric. I learned a new set of rules. No more driving. Groceries were delivered by a bonded courier. The car I had rented was wiped and returned. I was to change my appearance. I dyed my hair a flat, unremarkable brown. I bought non-prescription glasses. I learned to check for reflections in windows, to never take the first elevator, to treat every person I saw as a potential threat. The isolation was total. Then my last tie to my old life was cut. My manager from Northline Metrics called. Mark, the man who had inadvertently given me Arden Pike's name. Stella, he said, and he sounded exhausted. I'm so sorry. I truly am. What is it, Mark? They are here, the paparazzi. They are not just at the office. They are harassing your team. They are at Sarah's house asking her if you were unstable. They've been calling my desk asking if you were fired for gambling on company time. They are trying to dig up dirt that doesn't exist. Mark, I never. I know, he said gently. But the board is spooked. The partners are concerned about the optics. Stella, we are placing you on indefinite paid sabbatical, effective immediately, for your own safety and for the safety of the team. For my safety. The words felt like a termination. They were cutting me loose. The last piece of Stella Stewart, data analyst, was gone. Now I was just the foster kid with the money. I hung up. The silence in the condo was absolute. They are winning, Nora, I whispered over the phone. They've taken my job. They've taken my home. They've taken my name. I'm trapped in this box, and they are out there crying on television. Yes, they are, Nora said, and there was a new, hard edge in her voice. They've built a powerful narrative, the wounded mother, the greedy daughter. It's time we gave the press a new story. What story? I can't go on TV. You don't have to, Nora said. The Hibiscus Trust. You told Mrs. Petrov. You told Arden Pike. Now you tell the world. Arden will issue a formal press release. We are not going to mention the lawsuit. We are not going to mention them. We are going to rise above it. We are going to announce the mission. 2 hours later, Arden Pike's office released the statement. It was posted on a new, simple website, hibiscusfund.org. The Hibiscus Fund is a newly endowed charitable trust dedicated to a single mission, providing comprehensive support for youth aging out of the Colorado foster care system. The fund will provide targeted scholarships for university and vocational training, grants for secure transition housing, and resources for professional development. The goal is simple: to ensure that no child who ages out of the system is ever left behind or treated as a rounding error. I didn't specify the amount. Pike was adamant. $112 million is a target. A mission is a purpose. The effect was instantaneous. The narrative didn't just shift, it fractured. The hashtag #GiveMomHalf crowd screamed louder. She's spending her parents' money on strangers. But a new, stronger voice emerged: editorials, child welfare advocates, lottery winner pledges fortune to foster kids. From foster care to philanthropist. I wasn't the greedy daughter anymore. I was the philanthropist. I had a purpose, not just a price tag. Connie predictably saw this as an escalation. Her Facebook page, which had been posting tearful memories, turned bitter. That night, a new photo appeared. It was a picture of a younger Connie, her hair feathered in a style from the late 90s, standing next to a beat-up station wagon. Her hand was on the shoulder of a small, blurry child with my color hair. The caption: me taking my Stella to her first day of school. I was always so proud of her education. I taught her to be generous. It's sad to see her give our family's money to strangers instead of the mother who raised her. I felt the old, hot rage. I screenshotted it and sent it to River Salgado. How fast? The reply came in under an hour. River, this is my new favorite, I wrote. She's getting lazy. Attached was a link to a stock photo website, a picture from a suburban mom collection, circa 2005. The station wagon in the photo had the same license plate, B47L2P. River. She didn't even bother to change the plate. Just a bad Photoshop job, pasting her head on some random kid's face over the original models. She's not just a liar, I said. She's a plagiarist. While River was dismantling the digital ghosts, Nora was tracking the real-world monsters. We have a problem, Nora said on our next call. 2 of them. Blake and Dalton. What now? First, Blake, my PI finally got audio from the loan shark he's tied to. Blake is desperate. The shark gave him a new deadline, the day of our TRO hearing. He needs to show good faith money, or the man is going to, and I quote, collect his kneecaps as collateral. Blake isn't just fighting for a windfall, Stella. He's fighting for his physical safety. A desperate man is a reckless man. We have to assume he's capable of anything. I processed this. It explained the increasingly clumsy lies, the frantic threats. And Dalton, Nora said, Dalton is more dangerous. He's not desperate. He's methodical. I've had an investigator on him. Her name is Marta Keene. She's discreet. She looks like a retired librarian, which is why she's so good. A new face joined our video call. Marta Keene. She was in her 50s, grey hair in a neat bun, wearing a cardigan. She looked like she should be checking out books, not tailing predatory lawyers. Mr. Dalton has a plan B, Marta said, her voice soft and precise. You are correct, Ms. Whitfield, that his TRO claim is legally baseless. He knows this. He is preparing his next filing. Which is what? I asked. He's been in contact with a psychiatrist, Marta said. A doctor, Alistair Finch. Dr. Finch has a reputation. He lost his hospital privileges 2 years ago for ethical flexibility. He provides expert testimony for a high fee. Dalton met with him yesterday. I was at the next table. What are they planning? They are preparing a petition, Marta said. To have you declared mentally incompetent. The words hit me like a physical blow. Harder than the man in the parking lot. Harder than the threats. He's going to claim that your erratic behavior, announcing a massive, impulsive charitable donation, cutting off your loving family, your history, and the trauma of the foster system, is proof of an unstable mind. He's going to argue that you are a danger to yourself and your assets, and that the court must appoint a guardian to manage the money. A guardian, of course, to be recommended by him, your biological father, Blake Morton. I couldn't breathe. They weren't just trying to take the money. They were trying to take me, my mind, my autonomy, the one thing I had built, brick by brick, to survive them. I ended the call. The safe house, my fortress, felt like a padded cell. I was shaking. I was the crazy foster kid. The unstable, impulsive, ungrateful daughter. They were making it true. I walked to my go bag, the one thing I'd packed myself. I unzipped it and pulled out the rusted tin box from Bridget. I opened it. On top of Ruth's faded notes, there was a new piece of paper, a thank you card forwarded by Mrs. Petro last week. It was written in purple marker on glittery paper. It was from Anya, the girl who had wanted to be a nursing assistant, the girl whose lost grant had prompted me to buy the ticket. Dear Miss Stewart, it read. Mrs. P told us about the Hibiscus Fund. I've never met you, but thank you for not forgetting about us. You make me believe I can get out and be someone, too. You make me feel strong. I held the cheap card, the glitter coming off on my fingers. I looked at Anya's words. You make me feel strong. I was not the unstable one. I was not the greedy one. I was not what they said I was. I sat at the small, sterile desk in the corner. I opened a new document on my encrypted laptop, a private journal. I needed to see the signal in the noise. I typed one sentence, the money doesn't make me right. The truth is what lets me stand. The beige corporate condo, my secure box, had become a war room. The abstract threats had finally coalesced into a physical document. Rex Dalton, true to his ultimatum, had filed. It was a Monday morning when Nora's email arrived. Subject, they pulled the trigger. Attached was the filing, Morton, Shah, Stewart, Kesno 25 CV 818 petition for temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction. I read the language. It was even more audacious than the demand letter. Dalton was claiming a long-standing oral joint venture regarding lottery play. He cited the fabricated lotto pool screenshot as Exhibit A. He cited Connie's Facebook posts as Exhibit B, proof of a close, continuous familial bond. He claimed my creation of the Hibiscus Trust was a fraudulent conveyance, an attempt to dissipate the co-owned asset before his clients could claim their rightful 50% share. He was demanding an ex-parte freeze. He wanted a judge to lock down every penny I had, including the money already earmarked for St. Bridget, before I even had a chance to respond. He's not just trying to paralyze you, Nora said over our secure line, her Georgia drawl low and dangerous. He's trying to starve the Hibiscus Fund in its cradle. He's trying to make you look like a fraud to the very people you promised to help. He can't win, I said, but it came out as a question. He won't, Nora replied. He filed this at 9 a.m. Our response is being filed at 11 a.m. I've been waiting for this. She sent me her filing. It was not a simple response. It was a 200-page opposition to plaintiff's frivolous motion. It was a work of art. Page 1. A motion to deny the ex parte request, demanding an immediate hearing. Page 10. A brutal dissection of Colorado state law, citing case after case establishing that moral promises, or vague family understandings, do not constitute a legally enforceable contract. Page 40. The St. Bridget Intake Log, Exhibit A, Affidavit of Mrs. Petrov, attesting to the attached contemporaneous record of abandonment, 8:14 p.m. Page 45, the DHS Report, Exhibit B, State-Sealed Record of Abandonment, 90-day follow-up, numbers disconnected. Page 60, River Salgado's Sworn Affidavit, Exhibit C, Forensic Analysis of Lotto Screenshot. This section included side-by-side comparisons of the Helvetica Neue font versus the correct San Francisco Pro. It included the checksum mismatch. Page 75, Exhibit D, Forensic Analysis of the 8th birthday photo, detailing the AI artifacting and metadata timeline. Page 90, the email chain, Exhibit E, subpoenaed records from the Colorado Lottery Commission, showing illegal collusion between Connie Morton and Travis Reed. Page 100, my declaration, my sworn statement that I had never downloaded the app, never made the promise, and had bought a single $2 ticket on impulse. Page 110, a motion for sanctions under Rule 11, accusing Rex Dalton of knowingly filing a lawsuit based on evidence he knew, or should have known, was fabricated. He wanted a fight, Stella, Nora said. He just brought a press release to a gunfight. The court's response was immediate. The ex parte request was denied. The judge assigned to the case, Avery Lang, was not known for her patience. A hearing was set for Wednesday, but it wasn't just a standard TRO hearing. Judge Lang issued a specific order. The court requires a proffer. Plaintiffs Morton will be required to present a preliminary foundational showing of their evidence before the court will entertain any argument on the merits of an injunction. What does that mean? I asked Nora. It means the judge read our opposition, Nora said, a rare note of satisfaction in her voice. It means the judge smells a rat. A proffer is a put up or shut up hearing. Dalton can't just wave his hands and talk about family promises. Judge Lang is forcing him to bring his proof. He has to bring the phone. He has to bring the app. He has to produce the original files for River to inspect. He has to build his case right there in front of us before he's even allowed to ask for the freeze. He's furious. I was not allowed in the courtroom, Nora insisted. The media circus was in full force. Connie and Blake Morton arrived dressed in samba, respectable clothes, looking like victims. Dalton strode in, all confidence and sharkskin. I watched remotely via a secure court feed in the beige apartment, my heart pounding a hole in my chest. Dalton opened, his voice smooth. Your Honor, this is a simple family dispute, a verbal agreement. We have screenshots. Mr. Dalton, Judge Lang interrupted, her voice thin, sharp, and cutting right through his. I have read your motion, and I have read Ms. Whitfield's voluminous response. I am not interested in your narrative. I am interested in your evidence. You claim this Lotto screenshot proves a joint venture. Ms. Whitfield's expert claims it is a forgery. So, let's start there. Call your expert. Dalton froze. Your Honor, we don't have an expert. It's a simple screenshot. Then, Ms. Whitfield can call hers, Judge Lang snapped. Ms. Whitfield, call your expert. Let's look at this proof. Nora smiled. The defense calls River Salgado. River appeared via video link, looking sharp, professional, and utterly unimpressed. For the next 30 minutes, River Salgado did not argue. Your Honor, what you are seeing on the left is the screenshot Mr. Blake Morton posted to Facebook. On the right, a verified exemplar of the Lotto Pool app, version 4.1, which was the public build on the day of the draw. River zoomed in. As you can see, the font in Mr. Morton's exhibit is Helvetica. The app, however, had switched to San Francisco Pro 3 days prior. This screenshot is not just fake, Your Honor. It is anachronistic. It is a historical impossibility. Dalton jumped up. Objection. Foundation. How can we know this person's exemplar is accurate? Ms. Whitfield. River, Nora said calmly. Please explain the checksum. Certainly, River said, and a string of code appeared. Every file has a unique digital signature, a checksum. We ran the checksum of the official app build from that day against the checksum of the screenshot. They do not match. But more importantly, the internal composition layers of Mr. Morton's image, pulled from the Facebook cache, show clear artifacting consistent with an image composition program, not a native operating system screenshot. You can see the pixel ghosting right here, where the username Stellus was clearly pasted over another layer. River was cold, factual, and irrefutable. They were performing a digital autopsy, and the courtroom was silent. When River finished, Judge Lang looked at Rex Dalton. She didn't look angry. She looked disappointed. Mr. Dalton, she said, her voice quiet. Do you have anything, anything, to rebut this forensic analysis, Dalton? Dalton stammered. Your Honor, my client, he's not a technical person. He just took a screenshot. Thank you, Mr. Dalton, Judge Lang said, cutting him off. That will be all. Plaintiff's motion for a temporary restraining order is denied. The assets are not to be frozen. The Hibiscus Fund will continue its work, and Mr. Dalton, I am issuing a warning on the record about your ethical obligations under Rule 11. You are approaching a line. I suggest you take a very large step back. She banged the gavel. I let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for 23 years. The fund was safe. The first battle was won. But Nora was already focused on the war. He's humiliated, she said. He's lost. And Blake's loan shark is coming for his kneecaps. They are at their most dangerous. We have to move. I met with Arden Pike the next morning. The TRO failed, I said. We are safe. We are not safe, Arden corrected me, his voice as dry as paper. We are exposed. That was a lawsuit against you. The money is still your asset. We need to fix that. He put a new stack of documents in front of me. The Hibiscus Trust, finalized with a full spendthrift provision. I signed where he told me. What does this mean, exactly? It means, Arden said, that you, Stella Stewart, are no longer a millionaire. The trust, which I manage, will pay for your housing, your food, your security, your taxes, and your charitable giving. But you do not control the principal. You cannot walk into a bank and withdraw $100 million. Therefore, if anyone ever sues you again, they cannot get to it. You cannot be a co-owner of an asset you do not legally own. The wall is no longer around the money, Miss Stewart. The money is now inside the vault. It was the smartest financial move I'd ever made, and it was just in time, because Rex Dalton was not stepping back. He was doubling down. 2 days later, the new filing hit my portal, the one Marty had warned me about. Petition for emergency conservatorship. Dalton had pivoted. He wasn't just coming for the money. He was coming for my mind. The petition was vile. It painted me as a classic case of sudden wealth-induced mania. It listed my erratic behaviors, impulsive gambling addiction, as evidenced by the lottery purchase, severe psychological trauma stemming from a well-documented abandonment narrative in the foster system, sudden, irrational dissipation of assets, the hibiscus fund, an impulsive act to give away money to strangers. Delusional paranoia, as evidenced by her hiding and refusal to speak to her loving family. He was using my past, my trauma, as a weapon. He was twisting my one act of defiant hope, that $2 ticket, into an addiction. He was twisting my philanthropy into mania. And attached as Exhibit A was a 5-page sworn affidavit from Dr. Alastair Finch. It claimed that based on his review of my public behavior, I exhibited all the signs of a person incapable of managing their own affairs. Dalton was asking the court to strip me of my autonomy and appoint a financial guardian. His recommendation, a qualified, caring family member, Mr. Blake Morton. I felt the walls of the safe house close in. This was his checkmate. He's not stupid, I whispered to Nora, my hands shaking. He's using my strength, my survival against me. Yes, he is, Nora said. And he just made his second critical mistake. He's filing motions. I'm filing facts. Nora's response was filed within hours. It was not emotional. It was a simple, clean, financial execution. Opposition to frivolous petition for conservatorship. Exhibit A. 7 years of tax returns for Stella Stewart, showing steady income and responsible filing. Exhibit B. 401k and savings account statements, showing a consistent long-term pattern of responsible financial planning. Exhibit C. A full credit report, showing a score of 810, no debt, no defaults, no liens. Exhibit D. The original lottery ticket receipt. Date, October 4th, amount, $2. Exhibit E. A sworn affidavit from my actual long-term therapist confirming I was highly intelligent, exceptionally competent, and under no psychological duress that would impair my judgment. Nora didn't just argue. She proved I was the most boring, stable, financially responsible person in the entire case. While the court was processing this, Marta Keene, the quiet investigator, delivered the killing blow. She had been tracking Connie's finances. It wasn't just a media campaign, Ms. Whitfield, Marta reported. It was a paid gig. She sent the file. It was a copy of a wire transfer routed through a shell company, from the Daily Vantage, a notorious tabloid, to Connie Morton. The amount, $75,000. The memo line, exclusive, My Lottery Daughter Stole My Life, Part 1. Connie hadn't just been crying on TV. She had been performing. She had sold her story, her lies, for cash, using the lawsuit as leverage to increase her fee. Nora filed the wire transfer immediately as a supplemental exhibit, proof of plaintiff's bad faith, unclean hands, and perpetration of a fraud upon the court. This finally was the line. Judge Avery Lang issued an order 2 hours later. The petition for conservatorship was denied. But she didn't stop there. The court notes a disturbing pattern of behavior from plaintiffs and their counsel. The submission of a verifiably false screenshot in the TRO hearing, followed by a bad faith petition for conservatorship, seemingly to leverage media attention, is behavior this court will not tolerate. The court hereby schedules an accelerated evidentiary hearing on the matter of the fabricated evidence. Mr. Dalton, Mr. Morton, and Ms. Morton are ordered to appear and show cause why they should not be held in contempt and sanctioned, and why their conduct should not be referred to the State Bar and the District Attorney's Office for Criminal Investigation. Nora translated, the judge is done. She's not just ruling on the money anymore. She's putting their fraud on trial. In public. The light is officially on. Judge Lang's order for an evidentiary hearing was a victory, but it felt incomplete. I had won the legal skirmish, but the conservatorship filing had done its job. It had burrowed under my skin. Dalton had used my past as a weapon, painting my survival as instability. I'd spent my entire adult life building a fortress of logic and competence, and he had put a crack in the foundation. I was a data set he was intentionally corrupting. I needed to see my original code. I did something Nora would have hated. I left the high-rise condo. I wore the flat brown wig, the non-prescription glasses, and a hoodie I'd bought from a drugstore. I took 3 different buses using a prepaid transit card and walked the last 6 blocks. I went back to St. Bridget House. The neighborhood hadn't changed. It still smelled like damp pavement and old brick. Mrs. Petrov had left the side door unlocked for me. I slipped in, my heart pounding a different rhythm. Not fear, but a painful, profound sense of homecoming. She wasn't in the office. I found her in the old sitting room, darning a sock under a dim lamp. She was older. The house manager role had passed to someone else. She was just Ruth now, the resident foster grandmother. She looked up as I entered. She didn't say my name. She just smiled, a weary, knowing smile. "You look tired, child," she said, "the way you used to look after finals." I sat on the worn floral print sofa, the springs groaning. "They are trying to say I'm crazy, Ruth. They are trying to say I'm crazy. They are trying to take it all away by saying I'm damaged." Ruth put the sock down. "Damaged? No, honey. You were never damaged. You were tested. There's a difference." She looked at my hands clenched in my lap. "This is about Connie, isn't it? That petition to, what did Nora call it? Guard you. Conservatorship," I whispered. "She's telling the world she was a loving mother, who just made a mistake." "A mistake?" Ruth scoffed, the word sharp. "A mistake is forgetting to pack a lunch. A mistake is not abandoning your 6-year-old child." "She said she was going to buy milk," I said, the memory rising up, tasting like ash. "That's what I told the night manager. I waited by the door for 3 hours. I kept telling them, she's coming back. She just went for milk." "I remember," Ruth said softly. "You wouldn't let anyone touch the little vinyl bag she left you with. I thought she was coming back for it." "No, Stella," Ruth said, her eyes holding mine. "You were coming back for her. You always were. Until you finally accepted the truth." She stood up, motioning to a dusty bookshelf in the corner. "You're not the only one who keeps a paper trail." She pulled down an old showbox, not a tin one like mine, but a cardboard one labeled S, Stewart Archives. My heart stopped. She opened it. Inside was not the clinical DHS report. It was my life. It was the love that stayed. She pulled out a stack of faded postcards, all addressed to her. "From your first year at community college," she said. "You sent one every week." She pulled out a photo. Me, maybe 15, bundled in a parka, holding a snow shovel. "You and the other kids." She smiled. "You shoveled out the entire block after that '03 blizzard. You organized it. You charged $10 a driveway, and used the money to buy a new microwave for the house." She pulled out a laminated newspaper clipping, a small, grainy photo of me. The headline, "Local Foster Youth Wins Community Leader Scholarship." "You were never unstable, Stella," Ruth said, her voice thick. "You were the one holding this place together. You were the one organizing, studying, achieving while she tapped the box, they were just gone." She handed me the box. "This is your evidence. This is who you are. Don't let that shark in a suit tell you otherwise." I stayed for an hour, breathing in the smell of bleach and old wood. Before I left, a familiar face came in. Jenna Cruz, my best friend from the system, the one I'd aged out with, Latina, sharp, and had the most sensitive detector of anyone I knew. Nora had vetted her. She was one of the only people I was allowed to contact. "So, Miss Philanthropist," Jenna said, pulling me into a fierce hug. "You look like hell." "I feel like hell, Jen." We sat in the kitchen while Ruth made tea. "I saw the news," Jenna said, her voice dropping. "Connie and Blake. I can't believe they have the nerve." "They are fabricating everything," I said, my voice tight. "Fake photos, fake apps." Jenna suddenly went still. "Fake photos?" She looked at me, her eyes narrowing. "Stella, I don't know if this means anything, but Connie, she came back once." I stared at her. "What? When?" "Years ago, maybe 2011. You were already in your first apartment. I was still living here, helping Mrs. P. Connie showed up at the door. She looked rough, jittery. What did she want? Did she ask for me?" Jenna shook her head. "No, that's the thing. She didn't ask about you. She didn't ask if you were okay. She said she needed your paperwork, your files. Mrs. P told her to get lost, that those were sealed." Connie got angry. She said she just needed one thing, your birth certificate. She said she had a legal right to a copy. She made a huge scene until Mrs. P threatened to call the cops. "My birth certificate," I said, the analyst in me waking up. "Why? Why not my social security card?" "I don't know," Jenna said. She just kept yelling, "I need her birth certificate. It's mine." Then she left. Never saw her again. I left St. Bridget with Ruth's box of archives and Jenna's story. The why was getting darker. It wasn't just about the lottery. I got back to the safe house and immediately called the full team, Nora, Arden, Marta, and River. "Jenna's story is a new variable," I said. "Marta, you're looking into Blake's financials. You found the loan shark. What else?" Marta Keene, the quiet investigator, adjusted her glasses. "It lines up with a pattern. Miss Stewart, Blake Morton isn't just a debtor. He's a small-time, habitual fraudster. I found 3 separate instances over the last 15 years of suspicious activity." "Suspicious how?" "Insurance fraud," Marta said. "Specifically, life insurance. He's taken out small policies on relatives, an aunt who died, a cousin, and in 2012, a year after Jenna Cruz says Connie came looking for your birth certificate, he attempted to take out a $50,000 policy on a Stella Morton." The room went silent. "The policy was denied," Marta continued, "because he couldn't provide a valid social security number for the insured, but he had the birth certificate. He was using your identity, your name, to build a fraudulent asset. They weren't just coming back for money they thought they were owed. They had a history of using me as an asset, as a name on a form, as a future payday. The lottery win wasn't a new idea. It was just the biggest one." "This confirms the motive," Nora said, her voice grim. "But it doesn't dismantle their current case." "River, where are we on the Lottery Commission?" "We had the email from Part 3. We knew Connie's cousin, Travis Reed, had leaked my name." "It's better than the email," River said, pulling up a file. "We subpoenaed the full electronic access logs for the Mountain Region office. Travis Reed wasn't just checking a name. He ran a full database query on your claimant file. After you'd left the building, he accessed your 1099G form, your signed verification, and the scanned image of your ticket." "He saw the ticket?" I asked. "He saw the timestamp, the numbers, everything," River said. "He knew exactly what you won and how you won. He fed that information to Connie." This wasn't just a leak. It was a full-blown data breach. He's the one who gave Blake the numbers to create the lotto pool lie. This was it. The entire rotten foundation of their case, a conspiracy. But in that moment, I just felt tired. I looked at the legal fees piling up. I looked at the security costs. I looked at the news, which was still painting me as the villain. Nora, I said quietly after River, Marta, and Arden had logged off. What if I just pay them? Nora was silent. I'm serious, I said, the exhaustion washing over me. It's blood money, but it's just money. Give them $5 million. Make them sign an NDA. Make them go away. I can't live like this. I can't live in a box with a wig, afraid to buy my own milk, while they profit from selling lies about me to tabloids. Nora's voice came back, slow and hard. I'll do whatever you instruct me to do, Stella. You are the client. But you must understand this. They are not asking for justice. They are not asking for a second chance. They are asking for leverage. What do you mean? You pay them $5 million, and you know what that says to the world. It says you were guilty. It says you did have an agreement, and they were right. It validates their entire lie. And that NDA. It'll be worthless. They'll leak it. They'll sue you again in 2 years for emotional distress. They will never stop. This isn't a negotiation. It's an exorcism. You don't bargain with a demon. You cast it out. I was silent. I knew she was right. I hung up and walked to the window of the safe house, looking down at the anonymous street. I thought about Anya. I thought about the kids at St. Bridget in the cracked parking lot. If I paid them, I wasn't just failing myself. I was failing them. I was setting a precedent. I was telling every grifter, every long-lost relative, that they could come out of the woodwork and extort any kid who managed to crawl out of the system. I was proving that blood was thicker than truth. No, I would not be their victim. I would be a wall. I sat down and made 2 calls. The first was to Arden Pike. Arden, I need to add a clause to the trust's mandate, I said, my voice firm. Effective immediately. I'm listening. The Hibiscus Fund, I continued, its mission is now ironclad. The KPIs for vocational training, the scholarships, they are non-negotiable. I want it structured so that even if I am declared incompetent, even if I am publicly discredited, even if I die, the fund's mission proceeds. The money is a commitment. Arden, it is not a weapon, and it is not a reward. It is a promise to those kids. Lock it down. Understood. He said the second call was to Nora. You're right, I said. No settlement, no negotiation. We are going to that evidentiary hearing. We are going to cast them out. Good, she said, because I think we just got our final piece of ammunition. An email had just arrived in my secure inbox. It was from an anonymous, encrypted address. Subject, you don't know me, but I know Connie. There was one file attached, an M4A audio file. My heart hammered. I clicked play. The sound was loud, a bar, music, and then Connie's voice. She was drunk. She was bragging. Sold it. Sold the story. $75,000 just to start. That idiot foster kid thinks she's so smart. Giving it away. Dalton says we've got her. He says she's unstable. He says we'll get the whole damn thing. Blake is useless. But I did this. I got us that $75,000. I sent the file to River. Where? When? The reply was fast. Metadata is intact. This was recorded 3 nights ago, 10:17 p.m. Geotag is precise. The Lucky Strike Tavern on the edge of Aurora. This is it, Stella. This is the whole goddamn case. I looked at the file. I thought about leaking it, sending it to the press, ending the public debate. But Nora's voice was in my head. This isn't a media trap. It's a legal one. This wasn't a press release. This was an exhibit. No, I whispered to myself, closing the laptop. We don't serve this half-baked. I thought of Ruth and the patience it took to raise a child. The oven is hot, I said. It's time to let the cake bake. The evidentiary hearing was in 48 hours. The evidentiary hearing was 48 hours away. Judge Lang was, as Nora put it, sharpening her axe. We had the audio file of Connie drunk and bragging at the Lucky Strike Tavern. We had the forensic proof of the fake screenshots. We had the lottery commission emails. We had a case that would not only win, but we would destroy them. But Nora Whitfield wasn't satisfied. It's not enough, Stella, she said, her voice a low hum over our secure line. Right now, we have a pile of evidence that they lied. I want to prove they are actively lying. Right now, I want to catch them in the middle of the crime. We have to provoke them. We have to set the trap. The plan was a legal masterpiece. It was a heist. Nora contacted the court. She claimed that in light of the intense media scrutiny and familial pain, I was requesting one final good faith attempt at confidential mediation before the public bloodbath of the hearing. Dalton, arrogant, agreed. He saw it as a sign of weakness. He thought the pressure had finally cracked me. The mediation was set for the next morning at a neutral third-party arbitrator's office, a sterile suite of rooms on the 14th floor of a downtown building. I walked in wearing the wig, the glasses, and a heart that was beating so fast I was afraid they could hear it. It was the first time I had been in the same room with them in 14 years. Connie and Blake Morton sat on one side of a polished mahogany table. Connie looked puffy, her eyes darting. Blake just looked haunted. His knee was visibly bouncing, a frantic jackhammer rhythm. Rex Dalton sat between them, a picture of expensive, reptilian calm. Nora sat beside me. She was all business. The mediator, a retired judge, set the terms. This session is confidential and inadmissible, he stated. As stipulated, to ensure candor, all electronic devices, phones, tablets, recorders, must be placed in this Faraday box. He gestured to a silver-lined box on the table. I put my burner phone in. Nora put hers in. Connie and Blake, looking confused, did the same. Dalton smiled. Of course, full transparency. He placed his $2,000 smartphone on top of the pile, but he didn't take off his watch. It was a sleek black smartwatch. I saw him tap the screen just before he rested his hand on the table. The watch face turned slightly toward us. He was breaking the rules. He was recording the inadmissible session. He thought he was the smartest man in the room. He had no idea that River Salgado was sitting in a nondescript van 3 blocks away, monitoring a signal beacon Nora's team had legally swept and placed in the room earlier that morning. River wasn't listening. They were just logging. A tiny icon on their laptop screen was flashing, active RF signal detected. Smartwatch transmitting. Violation of mediation terms logged 10:14 a.m. Dalton had just committed his first act of perjury, and the session hadn't even begun. I took a shaky breath. This was my part, the performance. I don't want to do this, I whispered, looking at my hands. I don't want the hearing. You're my family. This has all gone too far. Dalton's eyes lit up just slightly. He smelled blood. My client, Ms. Morton, feels the same, he began. I'll give you $250,000, I said, cutting him off. Blake's head snapped up. Connie's eyes widened, her mouth falling open. $250,000, I repeated, as a symbolic gesture for the hardship. But there's one condition. Name it, Dalton said, leaning forward. A full public retraction, I said. A press conference. You will go on the record and state that the Lotto Pool app was a misunderstanding, that you have no legal claim, and that you are withdrawing the lawsuit. You will apologize to me and to the Hibiscus Fund. The trap was sprung. The offer was too small to be a real victory for them, and the demand for a public apology was a profound insult. Connie's face, which had been pale, turned a deep, mottled red. Apologize? She shrieked, her voice cracking. Apologize after what you, that is my money, you ungrateful little, $250,000. That's an insult. Connie, shut up, Blake hissed, panicking, grabbing her arm. He looked at Dalton, his eyes wide with the terror of the loan shark's deadline. Rex, it's a start. We can work with it. It's not enough, Connie screamed, shoving his hand off. After everything we did to. And then Blake, in a moment of pure idiotic panic, turned on Dalton. Rex, tell her. Tell her that's not even enough to cover how much that fake-up photo cost to make. Silence. A perfect, ringing silence. Absolute silence. Dalton didn't move. He didn't breathe. He just slowly, deliberately closed his eyes. Blake had just confessed. He had just admitted, on the record, to manufacturing evidence in a confidential mediation, while his lawyer was illegally recording the session on his watch. And none of them knew that the small, unobtrusive microphone in the center of the table, the one the mediator had announced at the beginning for the mediator's private, encrypted notes only, was piping a crystal clear, legally admissible audio feed directly to River Salgado's van. Audio file saved. Tagged, Blake confession. Nora stood up, her face a mask of stone. I believe this mediation is over. We walked out. We didn't speak. The elevator doors closed. Nora pulled out a second phone, a different burner. She sent one text. Marta. Now? Marta Keene, the librarian spy, was in the lobby of the building, sitting in an armchair, reading a copy of The Economist. As Connie and Blake stormed out of the elevator, arguing loudly. Marta watched. Connie was already on her phone, texting furiously. Marta, sipping a coffee she didn't want, raised her own phone. From across the lobby, she snapped two clear pictures. The pictures were of Connie's phone screen. The message to a contact listed as Cause Travis was clear, they know about the app. I need the ticket serial number, the real one. If we have that, Dalton says we can still claim joint purchase. Send it now. Connie Morton was, at that very moment, actively conspiring with the Lottery Commission employee to commit more fraud. And Marta had the photograph. The heist was in full swing. But we weren't done. That night, the real trap was set. Blake was desperate. He had confessed. He knew he was going to lose. His loan shark was coming. He needed a miracle. Arden Pike, my meticulous, quiet financial lawyer, provided one using an anonymous encrypted email service. Arden sent a message to Blake's personal email. Subject, Lottery Whistleblower. I'm an employee at the Commission. They are trying to hide your win. They are shredding documents. Stewart's lawyers are in on it. I managed to save a scan of the original ticket before they destroyed it. Use it. God bless. The email contained a single link to a dummy cloud storage account. Inside the account was one file, Stewart_ticket_original_scan.jpg. It looked perfect. It had the timestamp from the King Soopers. It had my numbers. It had a border that looked like it came from a high-res flatbed scanner, but as River had explained to me, it was a Trojan horse. It's a pixel trap, River said. Buried in the image data, invisible to the naked eye, is a single pixel beacon. The second that file is downloaded and, more importantly, opened on a device, that pixel will ping our server. I was back in the high-rise condo, pacing the beige carpet, watching my laptop. The ping came at 1:17 a.m. Nora's screen, which I was sharing, lit up with a data table, ping received, one file, Stewart_ticket_original_scan.jpg. Downloaded 1:17 and 4 seconds a.m. Opened 1:17 and 9 seconds a.m. Originating IP address 72.144.xx.xx. Registered to Blake Morton, Aurora, CO. Device ID, HP laptop, Windows 11. Geolocation, precise coordinates of Blake's house. He took it, I whispered. My God, he took the bait. Marta, confirm, Nora said into her phone. Marta Keene was sitting in a dark car 2 blocks from Blake's house. I'm reviewing the neighbor's CCTV footage now, she said. Yes, I have it. Timestamp 11:15 a.m. Blake's vehicle arrives, parks erratically. Subject runs to the front door. Timestamp 1:17 a.m. The light in the front room, the one you identified as his office, just turned on. We have visual confirmation. He's at the computer. At 7 a.m., Nora was in Judge Lang's chambers with an emergency petition. She wasn't asking for a full search warrant. She was more precise. Your Honor, she argued, we have irrefutable digital proof that the plaintiff, Mr. Morton, at 1:17 this morning, downloaded a file he believes to be the original winning lottery ticket. This is a clear, active attempt to procure more fraudulent evidence for the hearing tomorrow. We request a limited, exigent circumstances warrant to search his devices for that one specific file. The judge, her fury at the court's time being wasted now palpable, signed the warrant. The trap was set. The confession was recorded. The digital bait was taken. The conspiracy was photographed. But Arden Pike, ever the chess master, wanted to lock the final door. He wanted to push their desperation not just into procuring fraud, but into acting on it. He sent one last anonymous email to Blake's account, supposedly from the whistleblower from whistleblower77@protonmail.com. Subject, they are moving it. The scan might not be enough. Her lawyers are smart. They have the original physical ticket. They are storing it in their private client vault at the First National Bank, Downtown Branch, Safe Deposit Box 808. I saw the transfer order. They are moving it tomorrow at 10 a.m. This is your last chance. Our case number. A phishing scam, I said to Nora, staring at the message. You're phishing him. We are conducting a permissible security experiment, Stella, Nora corrected me, her voice icy. We are testing their intentions. But they can't be that stupid, can they? Nora looked at me, and for the first time in this entire nightmare, she smiled. A cold, sharp, terrifying smile. Stella, she said, Blake Morton is $95,000 in debt to a man who wants his kneecaps. The hearing where Judge Lang is scheduled to refer him to the district attorney for fraud is in less than 24 hours, and he just received a treasure map to a box that he thinks holds $56 million. She paused. He's not just stupid, he's a drowning man, and we just threw him an anchor. The evidentiary hearing was not held in the large ceremonial courtroom. Judge Avery Lang had assigned us to Department 12, a small, functional room with bad lighting and no jury box. It was a room designed for business, not drama. It was packed. Reporters lined the back wall. I sat in the front row directly behind Nora Whitfield. I had left the wig and the glasses in the condo. My hair was its natural color. I wore a simple gray blouse and slacks. I was not a victim, not a philanthropist, and not a defendant. I was a witness. Connie and Blake Morton sat across the aisle, separated by Rex Dalton. They wouldn't look at me. Blake was vibrating, his leg bouncing so fast it was a blur. Connie was staring at the judge's empty chair, her face pale and rigid. Dalton was shuffling papers, but his hands were shaking. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Lang entered, took her seat, and put on her glasses. She looked at the gallery, then at the two tables. "This is not a civil trial," she began, her voice cutting through the silence. "This is a show cause hearing. My order was clear. The plaintiffs have been ordered to show cause why they and their counsel should not be sanctioned for a pattern of bad faith litigation and the submission of fraudulent evidence. Ms. Whitfield, the floor is yours." "Thank you, Your Honor," Nora said, standing. The defense would like to start with the audio recording from the confidential mediation session dated 2 days ago. Dalton was on his feet before she'd finished the sentence. "Objection, Your Honor. Absolute privilege. That session was court-ordered mediation. Nothing from that room is admissible. Ms. Whitfield knows this. This is a deliberate attempt to poison the well." Nora waited until he was finished. "Mr. Dalton is correct. Your Honor, the negotiations of a mediation are indeed privileged." Dalton looked smug. "However," Nora continued, her voice dropping, "the crime-fraud exception pierces that privilege. We are not offering the content of the negotiation. We are offering audio evidence of Mr. Blake Morton confessing to the crime of fabricating the very evidence this hearing is about." Dalton's smirk vanished. "She's bluffing. There's no exception. Furthermore," Nora cut in, "we are prepared to argue that Mr. Dalton himself irrevocably waived all privilege and violated the sanctity of that mediation." Judge Lang leaned forward. "Explain, Ms. Whitfield." Defense calls River Salgado to the stand. River, who was waiting in the hall, walked in. They looked sharp, professional, and were unimpressed. "River, were you retained by my firm to conduct a security sweep of the mediation room at 1400 Main Street?" "I was." "And did you monitor the room for any unauthorized electronic transmissions during that session, in accordance with the mediator's signed rules?" "I did." "Did you find any?" "Yes," River said, their voice clear and high. "I detected one active, unsecured radio frequency transmission originating from Mr. Dalton's person." Dalton went white. "And what was that device?" "A Samsung Galaxy smartwatch. It was actively paired to his phone in the Faraday box. And based on the data packet analysis, it was in audio recording mode, transmitting a live feed." The room was silent. Every eye turned to Dalton. Judge Lang slowly took off her glasses. She looked at Rex Dalton. "Mr. Dalton," she said, her voice terrifyingly quiet. "Did you, an officer of this court, illegally record a confidential mediation in direct violation of my order and state statute?" Dalton's face was slick with sweat. "Your Honor, it's a fitness tracker. It must have activated by mistake." "A fitness tracker? Then you will have no objection to turning that fitness tracker over to this court right now for forensic inspection." Dalton stared at her. He knew he was trapped. I I must have left it at my office. Your Honor. I'm sure you did, Judge Lang said. Judge Lang said, the violation is noted. The privilege is waived. Ms. Whitfield, play the audio. Nora hit the button on her laptop. The audio, crystal clear from the mediator's legal microphone, filled the courtroom. First, my voice offering the $250,000. Then Connie's voice screaming an insult, and then the sound that ended the world. Blake's voice, high and panicked, tell her that's not even enough to cover how much that fake-app photo cost to make. A gasp went through the gallery. Blake Morton looked like he was going to throw up. Thank you, Nora said. Now, Your Honor, let's look at the fake-app photo Mr. Morton was referring to. River was still on the stand. Nora projected the two images on the large screen for the court. River, please walk the court through your findings. For 10 minutes, River did exactly that. They demonstrated the font mismatch. Mr. Morton's exhibit uses Helvetica. Your Honor, the official app had switched to San Francisco Pro 3 days prior. It is an anachronism. They demonstrated the composite layering. You can see the pixel ghosting right here, where the username Stellus was clearly pasted over another layer. They demonstrated the fake 8th birthday photo. And here, Your Honor, is the stock image from a 2005 website. As you can see, the license plate B47L2P is identical. River was a surgeon. By the time they were done, the evidence was not just discredited, it was annihilated. Next, Nora said, the defense calls Travis Reed. Connie's cousin was marched in, looking pale and terrified. Mr. Reed, Nora started, you are a seasonal employee at the Colorado Lottery Commission, correct? Yes. And Connie Morton is your cousin? Yes. Did you, on the day my client claimed her prize, use your security credentials to illegally access her private claimant file? I don't recall, Reed whispered. You don't recall? Nora raised an eyebrow. Then let me refresh your memory. She projected the email. Hey, Trav, see if it's our Stella. Reed sank in his chair. Yes. And did you access her file, note her name, and leak that confidential information to Ms. Morton in violation of state law and your employment contract? Yes. And did you receive this text message from Ms. Morton yesterday? A man in the front row stood up. Your Honor, I am counsel for the Lottery Commission. Mr. Reed's employment is terminated. Effective immediately. We will be cooperating fully with the district attorney. Reed put his head in his hands. Defense calls Blake Morton to the stand. Blake looked at Dalton, but Dalton was staring into space, his career flashing before his eyes. Blake shuffled to the stand. Nora let him stew in the silence. Mr. Morton, Nora began, you have filed multiple sworn declarations stating you have a close, continuous, and loving bond with your biological daughter, Stella Stewart. Is that correct? Yes, he whispered. What is her birthday? July 12th. It's April 19th, Nora said. What was the name of the foster mother who raised her for 14 years? I don't know. What was the name of the last elementary school she attended before you abandoned her? I don't remember. But you do remember a verbal agreement to split a lottery ticket, Nora said. Yes, he said, suddenly animated. We always talked about it. Of course, Mr. Morton, Nora continued. At 1:17 a.m. this morning, did you download a file from an anonymous email address that you believe to be a scan of my client's original winning ticket? Dalton, waking from his stupor, shot up. Objection. Relevance. That's a phishing scam. It's entrapment. It's not, Nora said calmly. It goes directly to the pattern of fraudulent behavior this hearing is about, Your Honor. It proves the plaintiff is, at this very moment, actively seeking new fraudulent evidence to continue his claim. Overruled, Judge Lang snapped. Answer the question, Mr. Morton. I don't know what you're talking about, Blake lied, his eyes wide. No. Then the defense calls Marta Keene. Blake was dismissed. Marta was sworn in. She was the calm, precise librarian. Ms. Keene, did you track a digital beacon associated with a pixel trap file? I did. Please show the court your log. On the screen, the data table appeared. Ping received 1:17 a.m., IP address 72.114. Registered to Blake Morton. And did you, at the same time, have Mr. Morton's residence under surveillance? I did. I was monitoring a neighbor's security camera with their permission. On the screen, a time-stamped black and white video played. 1:15 a.m., Blake Morton's vehicle arrives. 1:17 a.m., the front office light in his house turns on. Mr. Morton lied under oath, Nora said. He downloaded the bait. He is actively trying to commit fraud. Blake looked like he was going to faint. One last witness, Nora said. Defense calls Connie Morton. Connie was a different person. The mask was off. She stalked to the stand, her face a mask of pure fury. She was sworn in. She immediately looked at the judge. Your Honor, she began, her voice shaking, I just want my family back. This is all, it's a misunderstanding. I'm her mother. I love her. This is about love. She started to sob, the performance she had perfected on national television. Nora waited, letting the sobs echo. Ms. Morton, Nora said quietly, you claim this is about love. Yes, Connie cried. Not commerce. What? No. Connie shrieked. How dare you? Then perhaps you can explain this. Nora projected the wire transfer receipt from the Daily Vantage to Connie Morton. Amount, $75,000. Memo, my lottery daughter stole my life. Connie stopped crying instantly. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. You sold your love for $75,000, didn't you? Ms. Morton, that was for legal fees, Connie stammered. To fight for my daughter. Legal fees. Nora repeated. I see. Then let's listen to your legal strategy. Nora played the audio file. The one from the Lucky Strike Tavern. The courtroom filled with the sound of bar music and Connie's drunk, bragging voice. Sold it. $75,000. Dalton says we've got her. He says she's unstable. Connie's face was a mask of horror. They're not just liars, Your Honor, Nora said, turning to the judge. They are conspirators. They are fraudsters, and they have made a mockery of this court, of the media, and of the very concept of family. Rex Dalton, his face ashen, stood. Your Honor, I request a brief recess to confer with my clients. Granted, Judge Lang said, her face grim. The three of them, Dalton, Connie, and Blake, burst through the courtroom doors. The hallway, packed with reporters, erupted. We could hear it through the thick wood. A camera flashed. And then Connie's voice, not drunk, but primal, screaming at Blake. You did this, you stupid man. You ruined everything. There was a thud, a shout from a reporter. The bailiff opened the door to restore order. The damage was done. I sat in my chair. I didn't move. I didn't look at the chaos. I felt a small, hard object in my pocket. I wrapped my fingers around it. It was a silver bracelet, cheap, with a single hibiscus flower charm. Ruth had given it to me when I graduated, a replacement for the turquoise cuff Connie had never sold. Nora sat down next to me. She put her hand on mine. It's done. The 10 minutes were up. The three of them came back in. They were destroyed. Blake's coat was torn. Connie's face was blotched and streaked. Dalton looked like a ghost. I have heard the testimony, she said, her voice shaking with controlled rage. I have seen the forensic data. I have heard the recordings. This is, without question, the most egregious and sustained campaign of bad faith litigation and fraud upon the court that I have ever witnessed. You have not just wasted this court's time, you have weaponized it. She looked at Dalton. Your conduct, sir, is a disgrace to the bar. She looked at Connie and Blake. Your conduct is a disgrace to the very word parent. I will be issuing my full ruling on sanctions and criminal referrals by the end of the day, she said, her gavel cracked, the sound echoing like a gunshot. We are adjourned. The gavel crack from the evidentiary hearing was still hanging in the air. We were in the eye of the storm. Judge Lang was in her chambers, and we were in Nora's temporary office, a sterile box 3 floors above the courtroom. We were waiting for the ruling on sanctions, the one that would refer them to the district attorney. I was staring at the Denver skyline, watching a plane descend, when Nora's phone buzzed on the desk. It wasn't a call. It was a text from Marta Keene. He's moving. Rex Dalton was a dead man walking. His career was over, and he knew it. Connie was a public disgrace, her $75,000 tabloid deal now evidence in a criminal referral. But Blake Morton was something else entirely. He wasn't just facing sanctions. He wasn't just facing prison time for perjury and fraud. He was facing a 9 a.m. deadline from a loan shark who was going to take his kneecaps. He was a drowning man. And Arden Pike's final email, the one about the safe deposit box, was the only straw he could grasp. He's not alone, Nora read from her phone, her voice flat. Marta has eyes on him. He's with an unidentified male, late 30s. They are on foot heading east on 17th Street toward the bank. He's actually doing it, I whispered. He was going to rob the bank. He's going to try, Nora corrected. Arden briefed the bank's head of security and their counsel last night. The Denver PD has 2 plainclothes officers in the lobby waiting for a coffee. This isn't a heist. Stella, it's a sting. She stood and grabbed her coat. I'm going. You should stay here. No, I said, grabbing my own. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not the girl in the parking lot. I need to see this. I need to see the end. Nora didn't argue. We didn't go inside. We stood across the street. 2 anonymous women in dark coats watching the marble and glass facade of the First National Bank. It was cold. The sky was a flat, metallic gray. Marta Keene was inside, sitting in a leather chair in the wealth management lounge, pretending to read a prospectus. She was wearing an earpiece feeding us audio. I have an appointment, we heard Blake's voice, thin and reedy, over Nora's phone. 2 to access a safe deposit box, number 808. And your name, sir, the bank manager's voice was polite, professional. Blake Morton. I'm an associate of the owner, Stella Stewart. She sent me. I have the authorization. A pause. I see. We do have a box 818 listed, sir, but your name is not on the access list. We would need Ms. Stewart here in person with her key and her identification. No, she can't be here, Blake stammered. His desperation was making him sloppy. She signed this. It's a power of attorney. A letter. He had brought the fake authorization letter. This was the first crime. I see. Mr. Morton, this form, it doesn't appear to be one of our standard documents. I'll have to verify the signature. You don't need to, Blake's voice was cracking. It's our box. It's our money. Look. There was a sound of paper unfolding. This is the ticket, Blake said, his voice rising in triumph. This is the original scan. This proves it's mine. Our names are on the lotto pool. It fits all right here. He had done it. He had just presented the watermarked, pixel-trapped file, the one he downloaded at 1:17 a.m., to a bank official as proof of ownership in an attempt to gain access to a vault. He had just committed a federal crime. Thank you, Mr. Morton, the manager said, his voice unchanged. This is a very serious matter. Please take a seat. I must consult with my supervisor. I will be right back. Good, Blake said, breathing hard. Good. You just hurry. Marta's voice cut in, low and calm. Manager is off the floor. He signaled security. The two plainclothes officers are moving from the coffee bar. They are approaching. At that exact second, River Salgado, who was parked 3 blocks away in their van, monitoring the emergency warrants on Connie and Dalton's phones, spoke into our earpiece. We have an intercept. Connie is calling Dalton. She's in a full-blown panic, patching you in now. Connie's voice exploded into our ears, so loud I flinched. She was sobbing, hysterical. Rex, he went to the bank. That stupid man. He went to the bank. He took that scan. The one from the email. He said it was his last chance. Dalton's voice was unrecognizable. It was dead. Hollow. Connie, you need to be quiet. He said they'd break his legs. Rex. He took his friend Terry. He said they were going to get the ticket. The cops are there. Oh my God, Rex, the cops are there. What do we do? What do we do? There was a long, cold pause, then Rex Dalton's final recorded words. You do nothing. You say nothing. It's over. The call clicked dead. They are coming out, Nora said, her eyes fixed on the bank's revolving door. The door spun. The two plainclothes officers, now wearing vests, walked out first. Then came Blake and the other man, Terry. Their hands were cuffed behind their backs. Blake looked impossibly small. His shoulders were slumped, his head bowed. He wasn't the smirking man from the talk shows. He wasn't the patriarch claiming his due. He was just a failed con man in a cheap coat, being gently guided into the back of a waiting patrol car. I stood on that cold sidewalk and watched the car pull away. Its lights off, no siren. It was quiet. Clinical. I looked at the bank's facade. The red and blue lights of a second patrol car, which had just pulled up, washed over the polished glass, turning it to blood, then to ice, then back to blood. I felt the cold air on my face, sharp and clean. I was not in a safe house. I was not in a courtroom. I was standing on a public street. And I was not afraid. I just breathed in and out. The noise had stopped. Nora was already on the phone, not to the police, but to Judge Lang's clerk. Her voice was pure steel. This is Nora Whitfield. Inform the judge that the plaintiffs in Morton versus Stewart have just been arrested. Mr. Blake Morton was taken into custody 5 minutes ago at the First National Bank, attempting to use fraudulent, fabricated evidence, the exact evidence from this morning's hearing, to gain access to my client's safe deposit box under false pretenses. This is a final, definitive, and ongoing act of unclean hands. I am filing an emergency brief supplemental to the sanctions hearing, attaching the arresting officer's preliminary report. The warrant intercepted phone call from Ms. Morton to Mr. Dalton, and the bank's internal security footage. We request this evidence be merged with the civil case for a final summary judgment. She listened for a moment. Thank you. We will await her order. She hung up. She looked at me, the red and blue lights flashing in her glasses. Go home, Stella, she said, her voice softer now. Get some rest. I went back to the condo, not the safe house, my condo, the one Arden had leased for me, the one with the high security fob. I sat on the sofa. I didn't turn on the lights. I just watched the city. At 5:04 p.m., an email arrived from the clerk of the court. It was not a long, complicated ruling. It was a single-page order, in light of the new, egregious, and criminal evidence presented to this court by the defense. The pending matter of sanctions is hereby merged with the underlying civil claim. The court finds the plaintiff's unclean hands to be absolute. A final hearing is set for 9 a.m. tomorrow, October 23, in Department 12. The court will issue its final judgment and ruling on all matters. No further motions will be accepted. No delays will be granted. This was it. Every path, every lie, every piece of data, every fake photo, every panicked phone call, and every desperate criminal act had all been funneled down to this one room, one judge, one moment. Tomorrow morning, the gavel would fall. The courtroom at 9 a.m. felt different. It was no longer a place of argument. It was a place of sentencing. The air was cold, thin, and absolutely still. The reporters were silent. Blake was not at the plaintiff's table. He was in the custody box, seated behind a partition, wearing an orange jumpsuit. His face was a grey, empty mask. Connie sat beside Rex Dalton, who looked like a man who hadn't slept in a year. His suit was wrinkled. His hands were clasped so tightly on the table his knuckles were white. I sat behind Nora. I was holding a simple, rolled-up piece of paper in my hand. All rise. Judge Avery Lang entered. She did not look at the plaintiffs. She did not look at the press. She looked at a stack of papers in front of her. And then she looked at Nora. Ms. Whitfield, the judge said, her voice flat. You have the floor. Summarize your position for the record. Nora stood. She did not approach the bench. She stood at her table, a pillar of calm, cold certainty. Thank you, Your Honor, she said, her voice quiet, but filling the room. This case was never about blood. It was never about a family promise. This case was about who stayed and who came back only for the money. It was about a conspiracy to commit fraud, executed by the plaintiffs and their counsel, to extort $56 million from the woman they abandoned. She clicked a button on her laptop. The large courtroom monitor, the same one River had used, lit up. The defense has prepared a simple timeline, a chain of events, because this wasn't one act of fraud. It was a campaign. On the screen, a graphic appeared. It was a flowchart. It begins, Nora said, with the illegal data breach. A box lit up, showing the email from Connie to Travis Reed. Connie Morton conspires with her cousin at the Lottery Commission to get my client's name. It moves to the fabrication of evidence. The next box, the side-by-side of the Lotto app. Blake Morton composites a fake screenshot using a font that was already obsolete to create the lie of a joint venture. Next, the deception of the court. A new box, River's signal log from the mediation. Mr. Dalton, in this very case, sits in a confidential mediation and illegally records the session with his smartwatch, violating privilege, and his oath as an officer of the court. Next, the conspiracy to procure new fraud. The photo Marta took of Connie's phone. Ms. Morton, in the lobby of the mediation, texts her cousin at the Lottery Commission demanding the real serial number to continue the fraud. Next, the active attempt to steal evidence. The Pixel Trap log. Mr. Morton at 1:17 a.m. knowingly downloads a file he believes is my client's ticket, a file we can prove he lied about under oath yesterday. And finally, Nora said, her voice dropping, the armed robbery attempt. The courtroom gasped. Dalton flinched. No, wait, Nora corrected. That's not accurate. It wasn't armed. It was just a simple, desperate case of criminal trespass, identity theft, and forgery. The plaintiffs, having failed at every legal turn, attempted to physically steal the asset. The screen showed the still image from the bank security camera, Blake Morton, his face wild, holding up the watermarked, pixel-trapped file to the bank manager. The chain is complete, Your Honor, Nora said. It is a perfect, unbroken, and self-confessed circle of criminal fraud. Nora turned her gaze for the first time to Connie. Connie, Nora said, though it wasn't a question. You are on the record under oath claiming this is about love. Yes, Connie whispered, her voice trembling. In the 14 years you were absent, did you ever pay a single dollar for Ms. Stewart's rent? No. But did you ever pay a single community college tuition bill? We were poor. Did you attend her 16th birthday? Nora asked, turning to the judge. No, because she was at St. Bridget House. Did you attend her high school graduation? No, Connie snapped. Did you send a card? No, Connie said. You did not, Nora said. But you did find the time 3 days ago to cash a $75,000 check from a tabloid for selling lies about her. That is the family value we are dealing with. Nora then looked at Blake in his orange jumpsuit. Mr. Morton, yesterday you testified you knew nothing about a downloaded file. I show you what is now marked as Exhibit F. This is a forensic watermark recovered from the file on your laptop, which was seized under warrant. This watermark is identical to the Pixel Trap file we have proven you downloaded. Can you explain that? Blake just stared. His mouth slack. He was an empty shell. He had nothing. I thought not, Nora said. A lawyer in the front row, the one from the Lottery Commission, stood up. Your Honor, for the record, the Colorado Lottery Commission formally apologizes to Ms. Stewart for the criminal breach of privacy by our former employee. This was a violation of the public trust, and we have referred Mr. Reed for full criminal prosecution. It was the last nail. The state itself had apologized, severing the last thread of Dalton's family justice narrative. Nora sat down. Judge Avery Lang looked at the plaintiff's table. Mr. Dalton, she said, do you have anything, anything, to say before this court issues its final judgment? Rex Dalton stood. He looked at his clients. He looked at the press. He looked at me. His arrogance was gone, replaced by the hollow understanding of total annihilation. This court, she began, her voice a cold, final judgment, has been subjected to a performance, a cynical, greedy, and criminal performance. This was not a lawsuit. It was an attempted extortion, plain and simple. She looked at Connie and Blake. Your claims of co-ownership, of a verbal contract, of a joint venture, are not just dismissed. They are found to be a total fabrication manufactured for the sole purpose of extracting money from the child you abandoned. The underlying civil suit is dismissed. With prejudice. Connie let out a small, strangled sound. As to the matter of sanctions, the judge continued, this court finds that the plaintiffs and their counsel, Mr. Dalton, have acted in willful, sustained, and egregious bad faith. You have lied. You have fabricated evidence. You have suborned perjury. You have tampered with witnesses. You have abused the discovery process. You have, in short, committed a fraud upon this court. Therefore, the plaintiffs are ordered to pay in full all legal fees and costs incurred by the defendant, Stella Stewart, in this matter. Ms. Whitfield, you will submit your billing. I will sign it. Furthermore, her voice hardened, a permanent restraining order is hereby issued. Connie Morton and Blake Morton are to remain at a minimum of 500 yards from Stella Stewart, her residence, and her place of business in perpetuity. Furthermore, the plaintiffs are ordered to issue full public retractions and remove, within 24 hours, all false and defamatory statements posted online, including all Facebook posts, and any and all content related to the $75,000 tabloid sale. Failure to do so will result in immediate incarceration for contempt. And finally, Judge Lang said, this court finds that the actions of Connie Morton, Blake Morton, Rex Dalton, and Travis Reed are not just sanctionable. They are criminal. I am this morning referring this entire file, every exhibit, every transcript, every recording, to the District Attorney's Office for Criminal Prosecution on multiple counts, including conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, identity theft, and forgery. She looked at Rex Dalton. And I am referring you to the State Bar for immediate disbarment. She lifted her gavel. This is over. The gavel came down. Gavel. The sound was like a thunderclap. It was the sound of a closing door. The sound of a lock clicking into place. I didn't move. I heard the commotion behind me. Reporters were running for the door. I heard Connie start to wail, a high, thin sound of pure, selfish loss. No, no, you can't. My money. I heard the bailiff say, Mr. Morton, stand up. I didn't turn. I didn't want to see it. I didn't need to. I heard the sound, a small metallic click, a sound I had only ever seen in movies. The sound of handcuffs being ratcheted tight. The flashbulbs erupted behind me, a silent, violent strobe light capturing the precise moment of their destruction. The perfect, satisfying legal revenge. I didn't turn to watch them be led away. They were data. The query was complete. The case was closed. I stood up. Nora put her hand on my shoulder. Are you okay, Stella? I looked at her and, for the first time, I smiled. A real one. I am. I turned and I walked out the side door, away from the cameras. I walked out into the cold, bright October morning. In my hand, I was holding the rolled-up piece of paper. I had been clutching it the entire time. I unrolled it. It wasn't a legal document. It wasn't a bank statement. It was a poster. A simple, printed poster I had made last night. It read, The Hibiscus Scholarship Fund. Applications now open. We stayed. We understand. We are here for you. I held the poster. My commitment, my promise, my future. It was stronger than any victory. It was the truth that let me stand.